Welcome back to our channel, where we dive deep into the heart of Genoa City's darkest secrets and most explosive dramatic twists. Today is a thrilling day to explore the labyrinth of lies, corporate espionage, and shattered family dynamics that keep us all on the absolute edge of our seat. Let us unravel the latest shocking developments that are destined to change everything. Devon Hamilton's psychological landscape had gradually transformed into a treacherous, suffocating wasteland of unchecked rage and mounting paranoia. For weeks, his escalating anger management issues had cast a dark, oppressive shadow over his once peaceful home, forcing Abby Newman to walk on eggshells and eventually seek the quiet, non-judgmental sanctuary of Daniel Romolotti's friendship just to find a moment of peace. Devon was acutely aware of the toxic, volatile environment he was cultivating, yet he found himself entirely incapable of halting his destructive downward spiral. Instead of looking inward to heal the festering wounds of his own entitlement and emotional fatigue, Devon desperately sought an external target for his volatile emotions, and the universe provided him with the perfect, familiar scapegoat in the form of Cain Ashby. The mere mention of Cain's name had always been enough to ignite a spark of protective fury within Devon, but recent events had transformed that lingering spark into an uncontrollable, blinding inferno of suspicion and hostility. The atmosphere in Genoa City was already thick with corporate espionage and shattered family legacies, particularly with the explosive, landscape-altering revelation that Cain was Jill Abbott's biological son and the secret heir to Chancellor Industries. Devon, fiercely protective of the Winters family legacy and deeply distrustful of Cain's sudden, unearned elevation in power, began to scrutinize Cain's every move with the calculated intensity of a predator tracking its prey. He noticed the microscopic fractures in Cain's confident facade, the erratic glances, the sudden, unexplained absences, and the suffocating aura of a man desperately trying to conceal a massive, catastrophic secret. Devon's instincts, honed by years of navigating the treacherous, bloodthirsty waters of billionaire corporate warfare, screamed that Cain was deeply entangled in something illicit, likely connected to the ongoing, destructive fallout of the Newman Media acquisition involving Adam Newman and Sally Spectra. Driven by a toxic cocktail of genuine concern for his sister Lily and a desperate, psychological need to exert control over a situation that felt entirely chaotic, Devon made the fateful decision to cross a dangerous moral boundary. He chose not to rely on his extensive, highly paid security team or his network of elite private investigators. Instead, the billionaire music mogul decided to take matters into his own hands and step into the shadows himself. This reckless decision was a stark reflection of Devon's deteriorating mental state, a physical manifestation of his deeply ingrained belief that his immense wealth and elevated status granted him the absolute right to operate above the law and entirely outside the bounds of basic human privacy. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long, menacing shadows across the opulent estates of Genoa City, Devon positioned his sleek, unassuming vehicle a discreet distance from Cain's current location, his heart pounding with a dark, thrilling anticipation of the hunt. The illicit pursuit began under the cover of a suffocating, moonless night, with Devon meticulously tailing Cain's vehicle through the winding, manicured streets of the city's most elite neighborhoods. The journey slowly transitioned from the familiar, brightly lit avenues of the downtown corporate district to the desolate, forgotten industrial outskirts of the city, a place where the pristine, wealthy facade of Genoa City crumbled into rusted metal and decaying infrastructure. Devon maintained a flawless, undetectable distance, his hands gripping the leather steering wheel with white-knuckled intensity, his eyes fixed unblinkingly on the glowing red taillights of Cain's car as it navigated the treacherous terrain. The oppressive, heavy silence of the vehicle was occasionally broken only by the ragged sound of Devon's own breathing, serving as a constant, visceral reminder of the dangerous, unpredictable path he was hurtling down. Cain finally brought his vehicle to a halt in the dead center of an abandoned, decaying shipping yard, a location so isolated and cloaked in dense, rolling fog that it practically radiated malicious intent. Devon killed his engine and coasted silently into a concealed vantage point behind a massive, rusted storage container, the metallic scent of old iron and damp, rotting earth instantly filling his nostrils. He watched with bated breath as Cain emerged from his car, his posture radiating a frantic, suffocating anxiety that was impossible to ignore. Kane paced the cracked, weed-infested asphalt like a caged animal, constantly checking his watch and peering into the impenetrable darkness, his every erratic movement betraying the immense, crushing pressure of the dangerous secrets he was harboring regarding the shocking deal he had struck with the Newman Media leverage. Minutes later, the heavy silence of the desolate yard was shattered by the low, guttural growl of an approaching engine, sending a spike of pure adrenaline straight through Devon's veins. A second, unmarked vehicle slinked into the clearing, its headlights extinguished, moving with the terrifying stealth of a phantom hunting in the night. Devon leaned forward, his pulse roaring in his ears like a freight train, as a mysterious, unidentified man stepped out of the shadows and approached Kane with measured, deliberate steps. The figure was entirely cloaked in darkness, his facial features completely obscured by the low brim of a hat and the raised collar of a dark, heavy overcoat, projecting an aura of lethal authority and cold, unfeeling calculation. The sheer physical presence of this stranger seemed to command the open space, instantly forcing Kane into a defensive, subservient posture that sent a profound chill down Devon's spine. From his hidden, shadowy sanctuary, Devon observed the clandestine interaction with forensic precision, analyzing every twitch and shift in their dynamic. Although the physical distance and the howling wind rendered their voices into muffled, indistinguishable murmurs, the body language of the two men painted a vivid, terrifying portrait of high-stakes extortion and absolute desperation. Kane's gestures were erratic and pleading, his hands slicing through the freezing night air as he seemingly attempted to justify his actions or desperately negotiate terms that were rapidly slipping out of his control. The mysterious stranger, in stark contrast, remained terrifyingly still, his posture rigid and uncompromising, occasionally leaning forward to deliver what appeared to be devastating, non-negotiable ultimatums that caused Kane to physically recoil in fear. It was abundantly clear to Devon that Kane was not the mastermind in control of this illicit arrangement. He was a desperate, drowning man, caught in a treacherous undertow of his own making. Refusing to let this catastrophic betrayal go undocumented, Devon reached into the passenger seat for his high-resolution camera and a military-grade directional parabolic microphone he had brought for this exact, paranoid purpose. The mechanical, rhythmic clicking of the camera shutter provided a staccato soundtrack to the unfolding drama, capturing every frantic, terrified expression on Kane's face and every menacing, shadowy silhouette of the unknown operative. Devon simultaneously engaged the advanced audio recorder, the digital display glowing faintly in the darkness as it captured the distorted, urgent frequencies of their clandestine, dangerous negotiation. Every photograph taken and every second of audio recorded fueled Devon's righteous indignation, cementing his absolute, unbreakable vow to unmask the identity of this mysterious stranger and expose the total depth of Kane's deception before it could annihilate the Winters family legacy. The illicit rendezvous concluded as abruptly and chillingly as it had begun, with the stranger turning on his heel without a single gesture of farewell and vanishing back into the shadows of his unmarked vehicle. Kane stood completely frozen in the center of the desolate yard for a long, agonizing moment, his shoulders slumped in utter, humiliating defeat, before finally retreating to the safety of his own car. As the vehicles sped away in opposite directions, leaving Devon entirely alone in the suffocating, foggy silence of the shipping yard, the sheer magnitude of the situation began to settle heavily upon his chest like a physical weight. He possessed undeniable, concrete proof that Kane was actively engaging in highly dangerous, covert operations with dangerous individuals, jeopardizing everything Lily had worked so tirelessly to build, and Devon knew with absolute certainty that he could not keep this apocalyptic revelation to himself for another second. Fueled by a blinding, protective fury and the intoxicating, dangerous rush of his own self-righteousness, Devon navigated his vehicle away from the industrial wasteland and charted a direct, aggressive course for Lily's residence. The drive back into the heart of the city was a blur of escalating anger, with Devon mentally rehearsing the brutal, uncompromising confrontation he was about to unleash upon the man who continually plagued his sister's life. He envisioned himself as the ultimate, unwavering savior of the Winters legacy, the only man capable of shielding his family from the toxic, manipulative grasp of a man who had repeatedly proven himself unworthy of their trust. The cold, logical part of Devon's brain, The part that quietly warned him of his own emotional instability and recent cruelty was completely drowned out by the roaring, deafening tide of his unchecked temper. Upon arriving at Lily's elegant, warmly lit home, Devon entirely bypassed basic pleasantries, barging through the front door with a heavy, combative energy that instantly saturated the space with tension. The scene he encountered in the living room instantly caused his blood to boil over into pure rage. Kane was standing there, attempting to project an aura of calm stability, while Lily maintained a rigid, defensive posture, her draconian emotional boundaries clearly drawn and actively enforced. The mere sight of Kane standing within the safe sanctuary of his sister's home was the final catalyst that completely shattered Devon's fragile composure, entirely blinding him to the delicate, highly tense dynamic that was already playing out between the former spouses before he had even arrived. Without a single moment of hesitation or situational awareness, Devon launched into a vicious, unyielding tirade, weaponizing decades of complicated family history and past grievances against Kane in a brutal verbal assault. He delivered a blistering, long-winded monologue that meticulously dissected every failure, every lie, and every manipulation Kane had ever orchestrated, his voice echoing off the walls with the thunderous, undeniable authority of a judge delivering a final death sentence. Devon's rant was a chaotic, ugly manifestation of his own internal pain and insecurity, a desperate attempt to exert absolute dominance over a world that felt increasingly out of his control. However, instead of finding a grateful ally in his sister, Devon was met with a wall of absolute, freezing authority that stopped him dead in his tracks. Lily, profoundly exhausted by the toxic masculinity, the endless corporate warfare, and the chaotic energy surrounding her, raised her hand and completely shut Devon down, her voice cutting through his blinding rage with the precision of a surgical scalpel, demanding that he cease using her home as a battleground for his own unresolved psychological issue. The sudden, unequivocal rejection from Lily acted as a violent, necessary psychological shockwave, instantly shattering the grand illusion of Devon's self-righteous crusade and leaving him entirely exposed to his own reflection. As the deafening, uncomfortable silence settled over the living room, Devon looked at the profound exhaustion in his sister's eyes and the defensive, weary posture of the man he so deeply despised, and a horrifying realization washed over him like ice water. The righteous anger evaporated into thin air, leaving behind a hollow, agonizing void of profound regret and intense self-loathing. Devon's shoulders collapsed, the immense weight of his own monstrous behavior finally crushing his resilient spirit. In a moment of raw, unprecedented vulnerability, Devon offered a deep, fractured apology, his voice trembling as he confessed to Lily that he had entirely lost his way in recent months. He spoke with painful honesty about the suffocating nature of his immense wealth, the insidious, creeping entitlement that had slowly corrupted his soul, and the terrifying realization that the man he had become was actively destroying the lives of the people he loved most, mirroring the very toxicity he claimed to be fighting against. Leaving Lily's home in a state of profound emotional devastation and deep introspection, Devon retreated to the isolating, quiet confines of his vehicle, the silence of the night pressing heavily against the tinted windows. Seeking a distraction from the agonizing pain of his own self-reflection, he connected his advanced audio recorder to the car's state-of-the-art sound system, attempting to isolate and enhance the muffled conversation he had captured earlier at the shipping yard. As the digital filters meticulously stripped away the ambient noise of the howling wind and the distant city traffic, a single, crystal-clear sentence spoken by the mysterious stranger echoed through the cabin with terrifying clarity. The revelation contained within those few chilling words completely recontextualized the entire corporate landscape of Genoa City, explicitly tying Kane's secret maneuvers not just to the Newman media scandal, but to a lethal, overarching conspiracy that directly threatened the very lives of the Abbott and Newman patriarchs, leaving Devon staring blankly into the darkness, realizing the true, deadly war had only just begun.